Well, good morning, everybody. Had a good sleep in, feeling good. I want to do this video on all the events here around Canada. Justin Trudeau's letter, it's exploding in Alberta, and of course, all the people who think that they're going for independence or autonomy think this is going to work out great. And none of them have done the work because there's a legal path to independence. I presented that for all intents and purposes now is nearly impossible for the current Alberta government to achieve, even if they wanted to, even if they turned everything around. This current government under Danielle Smith, all of everything they've published and said is detrimental for any legal path to independence. Now, I want to be clear, my video is live. It's on Facebook. I was in Texas, USA. I was at the University of Texas. I was in with the world's greatest constitutional experts. In fact, I have Catalan's writer of the Declaration of Independence, the next to president of Catalan, elected, who won a massive majority on the basis of independence, not a slim majority. This was an extreme majority. Most Catalonians voted for the independent Catalan leader by massive margins. Blows a place like Alberta out of the water. They feel our pain. I sat there, I talked with him. He agreed after everyone thrown in jail, the Spanish military came in, arrested senior parliamentary officials, put them in prison, locked down the airports, and destroyed that elected government. No more independence. They said, you didn't go to the United Nations Security Council. We're the UN state. We're going to brutalize you, destroy you. And they did. And the world sided with them. The world sided with Spain. This was, again, a government elected in a whopping majority. If you had had a legal referendum question pushed by the UNSC, the results would have been nearly the same. 90 percentile of Catalonians wanted independence. But they didn't go that route. They wrote a declaration. They built a party with that in their platform. And when they won the election by clear majority, massive majority, Spain intervened. They all got apprehended. Some got thrown out of the country, never to return. There's some going back now. But that is what happened. And that happens all over the world to those who think that somehow the world laws don't apply to them. Now, the Supreme Court did the Quebec succession reference to the question. They gave an opinion for the government of Canada. Of course, that opinion is skewed. Like Alberta in the CPP, again, this is for all those who don't understand how our system works and what you're up against. It's not because I support it. I just don't support failure. I don't support absolute failure. Why go through a process if you know the outcome is absolute failure? The CPP withdrawal. I'm going to say it again, by the law, the system designed, and what we all entered into in 1965, absent of Quebec. And in the title of this live, I don't put in Quebec. I don't. But Quebec should well be there on a reference for succession if Alberta was to pursue that. Everyone's banging their drums saying, yeah, we should have a referendum. It's not going to be a legal international referendum recognized by the world. You've already lost. Even if you play Ottawa's game, even if you go with the Supreme Court opinion that Ottawa asked for, that all political parties accept. Why? Because it's King's Court. That's the opinion the governments want, so that Alberta could never leave, not in the Canadian system. You need 7 provinces to vote absolutely for your succession, and they won't. Just like CPP, and hear me out, Danielle Smith told Albertans, we're going to have a great, brilliant plan, leaving the Alberta pension plan. I have 3 NGOs. They did all this work incorrectly, didn't read the 2 pieces of legislation involved in the CPP. One, the CPP design itself on the financing end. The other is the governance of the CPP. And that's in where it lies the problem. And the biggest problem is it actually falls on only 2 provinces in Canada in CPP in their population. That's Premier Doug Ford and current Premier David Eby, NDP, who clearly by yesterday's polls is going to land a massive majority in British Columbia. A lot of Albertans and Saskatchewanians, I shouldn't say a lot, minority group of Albertans and Saskatchewanians believe that British Columbians would somehow support a Western Canada. They don't. They don't. They haven't for a long time. BC has fallen. It's fallen completely off the charts. Now listen to me here, folks. By the people, by the numbers, and these are the polls just released yesterday morning by Angus Reid, which I should have put him in this title. Folks, doubling the Conservatives, NDP clearly in the lead, doubling Conservatives. In fact, Conservatives can't even get third place. They're battling between a new branded Liberal Party and the Conservatives to fight for even a smidgen between third and second place took a Liberal MP and designated him their leader. That's where the Conservatives are in BC. These parties are all one and the same. I've said it for a very, very long time. Our last premier of Alberta was a Ralph Goodale good boy. He was a Liberal for a long time. He worked directly for Ralph Goodale. And Albertans voted him in and trumped him as some kind of super conservative who was nothing but a big spender and a terrible, terrible physical conservative. And Alberta bled like it hasn't for a long time. And we're going to see more of that. I'm sorry, Danielle Smith is a floor crosser, a PC, with strong ties to the same people who are now running the Conservatives in BC that are Liberal. And it amazes me that Canadians can't see this. They can't see past their own nose, I guess. They just go with what the media tells them, and they believe that it's the party, not the people in it. And it's not the founding membership that may or may not even exist anymore. For a lot of these parties, their founding membership is long gone. You've got 5 people in an absolute autocracy running the show. And people don't see it, don't get it, and they think that things are going to fall their way. They're not. Alberta is not going to see a dollar out of the CPP. A lot of Canadians are going to suffer if Alberta goes forward withdrawing. Now, we know Danielle Smith votes yes. We know that the Premier of Saskatchewan votes yes, and that's it. The rest are an absolute no. They will never leave. BC and Ontario alone are 2/3 of the population of CPP holders in Canada. And in the rules of governance under the legislation for the governance of CPP, they get the say. And their say is no. Justin Trudeau released a letter yesterday saying he will do everything he can, which is nothing. There's no legislation that gives Justin Trudeau any powers over the CPP. Zero, none whatsoever. This is just him appealing to a broad range of Canadians who will vote for him on saying that, even though he has no legal authority to designate or change the governance of the CPP. That falls to Premier Doug Ford and Premier David Eby. I mean, they all get to have a say, every premier in a premier's conference over CPP, but the 2/3 of population is Ontario and British Columbia, because Quebec is in its own plan. And that alone grants, according to the law, those two premiers full authority. And they've already said, no way. Publicly, I already published it weeks ago. So for all these drum bangers, ignorant, dumb hillbilly Danielle Smith, who's just a liar, she's only there to destroy any chance for a real succession movement in Alberta. And I know that. I've known that for many years, because international law sets the stage for succession from a UN state. And if you don't go forward with international law, you've got nothing. And I can tell all Albertans, all Canadians who will mostly be happy to hear it, that without Russia and China, and Alberta's premiers made it clear her views on Russia and China, without their vote and say in a succession for Alberta from the UN state called Canada, you'll never get it. And they're happy with that. They did that on purpose, so they know that that avenue's gone. The legal path is gone for the Conservatives, the United Conservative Party. And so it goes back to succession through Canada and the Crown and their cockamamie King's Court solution, in their opinion, on succession, with what Ottawa will bind to any province in Canada. It's no, no, no. And if you think that in our gross wealth transfer, Alberta stands a chance of ever successfully leaving Canada, the answer is no. No. Anyone thinking that there'll be some kind of Western Canada? Wow, I think you need to look hard at British Columbia. It is gone, as is Ontario, as is Quebec. They are on a one-way ticket to extreme socialism. If you haven't been to Montreal, the GTA in its entirety, or Vancouver in the last 5 years, I don't know what to tell you. The explosive cost of living, the massive poverty is insane comparatively to the rest of Canada outside of the territories. It's insane. And if people don't wake up to this truth, I don't know what to tell you. It's coming your way. Hong Kong, Canada. Again, I don't say it to be racist to Chinese people. I say it to punch at the British Empire and that whole system, the 100 years of building and designing Hong Kong, a mass source of Canada's Chinese immigration that's now ended. It's back to the Communist Party of China. And for those who believe that this country serves your needs, they don't. It is massive socialist, fascist engineering, age-old ground zero. We're the oldest design in the world, and we're currently running for the Century Initiative, which means 100 million in Canada by 2100. And in 70 years, that's a massive million immigrants a year. That's what we're looking at to achieve that, or very close to it, 750,000 immigrants a year. Far outpacing any other country in the entire world. Unsustainable by the world's largest margin. No other country in the world would accept that as a UN resolution. It didn't even see the floor. Your crown colonial government, all of them, Liberal, Conservative, NDP, Green, on and on, all righteously approved that to sheer dominate and enforce it upon the masses of subjects and savages. By going with the Century Initiative, all the Crown parties in Canada can be assured that all First Peoples will soon end in the other category. There won't even be a UN-recognized First Peoples anymore. They'll be in the other category, and the horse blinders and international law go on, and it's the end of the First Peoples. For the Canadian subjects, you will end up like Hong Kong did under that British Empire and that age of them owning that city and managing it. Everybody's saying, what a great place. 600 square foot room went for $5,000 a month. 600 square feet. Families were living in large majority in what are called coffin state, where they're in a room with a hallway bathroom shared with many, many other families. You take an apartment, you subdivide it 4 ways, you get a family stacked on top of each other in coffin beds. Oh yeah. Nobody has any more than 2 children, and you live cramped in 600 square feet for approximately $5,000 a month. Go look at the cost of a hotel. This is where Canada wants to go. This is where Canadians are gravitating to blindly as the subjects and the savages. There's no amount of socialism that can fix this. Socialism only amplifies it. Fascism is the idea of wiping out defined savage animal people. And that's what Canada does with the First Peoples. It's in their legislation and in their parliamentary records, and it just goes on and on and on. It's attached to the Constitutional Acts of Canada through the Indian Act and the term Aboriginal, which again, not a normal human being. That's what Aboriginal means in relation to people. That's the definition. I just can't believe that in 2023 we run a country like this. And I can't believe, with the vast ability to research and study and learn, Canadians can't utilize that to come up with the truth. That they stay conditioned, institutionalized, blinders on, destroying their children and their children's children's future, because there isn't one at the direction we're going. And if you think that this first class that rotates through all the political parties, Liberal, NDP, Conservative, they rotate through each other. They're all buddies. They're all getting rich because they have the same elite friends who are largely not even Canadian. They pass the buck to them, promise them great wealth, regardless of how they do during their period as the rulers, the divine first class politicians, often appointed, but there's the elected too. And you select your tyrants, and that's what you do. So this is my video. Alberta can't leave the pension plan. If they do, they're going to leave with nothing, no money. So everything Danielle Smith and her NGOs promise is a whopping lie. You'll see nothing. The mass majority of the provinces will vote nothing for Albertans, and it will hurt them. It will hurt them tremendously. The retired hurt tremendously. I don't see the people of Alberta voting in that referendum. I don't see people of Alberta voting in a succession referendum. I think that the damage is done, and too many are uneducated, ignorant, and believe in the Crown. And that's the greatest education that has to come forward. I don't know how we'll do that with the paid social media and such a massive, massive amount of Crown loyalists in full control of the political stage. I don't know how we're going to get that done. One video at a time, shares education. There's so much set up by the government and the courts to make it look like you have some way out or some ability to make change, when really they've set it so it's impossible. and they ensure an international law that does override this country and the regional governments. They've made sure that that's inaccessible to you by their actions and their words. And that's where we are right now, at least under UCP for Alberta. So Albertans, Canadians, this is where it's at. Whatever you're being told is a spoon-fed load of crap. And that's by the law, by the system in place. And anyone denying that isn't your friend. They're your enemy. They're not working for you, the people, because we're not people. We're subjects and savages. They work for themselves. They work for their wealthy elites. It's always been the Canadian way. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. And almost all regional governments now are not even independent, as our limited federalism has been designed to yield. Our regions are now political parties attached directly to the federal parties. You can't trust a conservative. You can't trust a liberal. You can't trust a New Democrat. You can't trust the Green Party. Provincially, federally, they're all one party. You can't trust any of these parties. That's my video. Get it out there. Truth. Share, share, share. It's you. It's about you and your power as people. Learn that you really don't have any, and the actions they're doing are only getting NGOs, special interests rich at your great expense, and they're selling you a massive lie. Massive, whopper lie. That's my video. Bye now.